Okay, so today's topic is diffusion. It is very important topic because in material science we often control the microstructure, and this microstructure is actually controlled by phase transformation, and this phase transformation often involves diffusion. Basically, to introduce diffusion, we can say that it is essentially a mass transfer. It can happen in solid, liquid, gas, but our main interest is in solid state diffusion. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so to illustrate the phenomenon diffusion, here is an example of copper nickel couple, which is formed by joining the two different metals together so that their faces should be in intimate contact. Okay, so if it is heated for an extended period of time at an elevated temperature, obviously it should be below the melting temperature of both metals, and after the heating process, if it is cooled to room temperature, diffusion process will be occur in this uh, couple, where the copper atoms will migrated or diffused into the nickel, and that nickel will diffuse into the copper. So this process whereby the atoms of one metal diffuse into another is termed as interdiffusion or impurity diffusion. Whereas diffusion also can occur for pure metals, where all atoms exchanging positions of the same time are the same type is termed as self diffusion. Okay, so here is the schematic diagram or schematic representation of copper, which is the red circle, and nickel is the blue circle, atoms located within the couple. So after the diffusion process, you can see the position of copper and nickel across the couple. So this is the actual process of diffusion. Okay, that is how the diffusion occurs in solid state. Okay, so now diffusion mechanism. So as we know that diffusion is a mass transfer, nothing but a mass transfer. That means the migration of atoms from one lattice site to another lattice site. Okay, so there should be two conditions must be met for an atom to make such a move. That is, number one, there must be an empty adjacent site. Okay, and number two is the atom must have that sufficient energy to break the bond with its neighboring atom. Okay, so the two conditions are there must be an adjacent site, and another one is there must be the sufficient energy to break the bond with its neighboring atom. Okay, so several different methods have been proposed um, for this diffusion mechanism. Here it is, the first one is interstitial diffusion. This type of diffusion actually involves atoms that migrate from an interstitial position to a neighboring one that is empty. That means the diffusion of solute in an interstitial solid solution. This interstitial solute can jump from one site to another nearby vacant site. That will of course change the concentration. Okay, so the atom, which is interstitial solute, that jumps from one interstitial site to neighboring interstitial site is called, this process is called that interstitial diffusion. Generally, this mechanism is found for interdiffusion of impurities such as hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen and oxygen, which have atoms that are small enough to fit into the interstitial positions. Okay, so this phenomenon is as the interstitial solute jumps from one side to another, it is named as interstitial diffusion. Okay, here is a schematic diagram where you can see that before diffusion the position of interstitial atoms, and after diffusion the position of interstitial atom. Okay. Okay, so in pure metals, as you know that self-diffusion occurs where there is no net mass transport, but atoms migrate in a random manner throughout the crystal. But in alloys, interdiffusion takes place where the mass transport occurs. So in substitutional diffusion, there are three mechanisms, that is direct, ring and vacancy mechanism, in which the vacancy mechanism is most favorable process, which involves an interchange of places by an atom with its neighboring vacancy. I repeat that in vacancy mechanism, the process involves an interchange of places by an atom by its neighboring vacancy. So this process demands a presence of vacancy, and it is very faster process than other diffusion process. Okay, the main step in, or you can say the unit step in vacancy diffusion is an atom to break its bond and jumps into the neighboring vacant site. Okay, so this is the vacancy mechanism. Another mechanism which is involved in substitutional diffusion, that is ring mechanism and direct mechanism. In ring mechanism, 3 or 4 atoms involved in the form of a ring move simultaneously round the ring. Okay, I repeat, in ring mechanism, 3 or 4 atoms in the form of a ring move simultaneously round the ring. So when they move round the ring, they interchanges their positions. This mechanism is called ring mechanism. Okay, another mechanism is direct exchange mechanism. Here two atoms involves two atoms interchange their position, and by this process is called direct mechanism. Okay. Okay, so diffusion process can be either steady state or non-steady state. There are two types of diffusion process. These two types of diffusion process are distinguished by use of parameter called flux. It is defined as net number of atoms crossing a unit area perpendicular to a given direction per unit time. So, just for an example, here is an atom which can jump in any vacant site. that is up, down, right, left, front, back. That means 6 sides. Suppose there is a plane 1 and plane 2, and jumping and an atom, there is a diffusion occurs between plane 1 and plane 2. So assume that n1 is the number of atoms in plane 1 and n2 is the number of atoms in plane 2, and jumping frequency is phi b, atoms movement between plane 1 and plane 2. So flux of atom from 1 to 2 is Jb equal to 1 by 6 phi b n1. That means, and the flux of atom from 2 to 1 is Jb 1 by 6 phi b n2. So the net flux is 1 by 6 phi b n1 minus n2. That means net number of atoms, that is n1 minus n2, net number of atoms crossing a unit area perpendicular to a given direction per unit time. Okay. Now the concentration of planes for plane 1 is n1 by alpha, whereas alpha is the distance between the planes, and for plane 2 the concentration is n2 by alpha. So from there we can derive the n1 minus n2. So putting this n1 minus n2 value in the equation, in the first equation, that is the net flux equation, we can get the Fick's first law. This steady state diffusion is described by this Fick's first law. Okay. For steady state diffusion, flux is constant with time, but in non-steady state diffusion, flux varies with time. Fick's law of diffusion states that the flux, that is the Jb, is proportional to the concentration gradient, that is del C by del X. Okay, we will discuss later in detail the concentration gradient. Okay, the constant of proportionality is called diffusion coefficient, that is the dB. Okay, diffusivity is characteristic of the system and depends on the nature of the diffusing species. Okay, so the matrix in which it is diffusing and the temperature at which diffusion occurs. Thus, in steady state flow, the flux is independent of time and remains the same at any cross-sectional plane along the diffusion direction. Okay, so for one-dimensional case, this is the Fick's first law, that is Jb equal to minus dB del C by del S. Okay, so why there is the minus negative sign is there, we will discuss in our next slide. And d is the diffusion, so you know that d is the diffusion constant and dc by del C by del X is the gradient concentration. Okay, so you can write this as a del n by del T, 1 by A equal 1 by A del n by del T. That means the number of atoms crossing per unit time a cross-sectional plane of area A. Okay. The minus sign in the equation means that the diffusion occurs down the concentration gradient. Okay, we will discuss later. The concentration gradient is often called the driving force for the diffusion. Okay, so the Fick's first law is derived by by this equation, and it is actually for steady state diffusion, not for non-steady state diffusion. Okay, so steady state, I repeat, steady state diffusion is actually invariant, or steady state diffusion doesn't vary with time, but non-steady state diffusion varies with time. So, what is concentration gradient? Suppose in a perpendicular area there is higher concentration and lower concentration. So, the mass will flow from higher concentration to lower concentration, right? Now, there is a, so the higher concentration and lower concentration, there will be a gradient of concentration, right? There is a the concentration will vary from one higher concentration point to lower concentration point. This gradient is called concentration gradient, that is del C by del A, where x is the distance between the planes, between the higher concentration planes and the lower concentration planes. So, this is the concentration gradient, and the slope indicates the downward. That means there will be a positive flux, right? So, if positive flux is positive, then the concentration gradient will be negative. Okay, that means why the minus sign in the Fick's law, why there is the minus sign in the equation? The minus sign in the equation means that the diffusion occurs down the concentration gradient. Okay, diffusivity, if the mass flux is positive, then the gradient will be negative. Okay, so that is why the negative sign is used. Diffusivity is highly temperature dependent, and it follows the equation, that is D equal to D0 exponential minus Q by RT, where Q is the activation energy which is required to break the bond, to jump from one side to another, and D0 is the pre-exponential factor, R is the gas constant, and the T is the temperature, absolute temperature. Okay, if we take the log of this equation, we can get L in D0 minus Q by R 1 by T. Okay, so from this equation, you can see that it is highly temperature dependent. Okay, but in steady state condition, its diffusion is time invariant, but for non-steady state diffusion, it varies with time. Okay. Okay, so this concentration gradient is often called the driving force for the diffusion. Okay, it is more correct to consider the reduction in total free energy as the driving force. Sometimes this driving force is used in the context of what compels a reaction to occur. Okay. According to Fick's first law, the concentration gradient is the driving force. Suppose there is a practical example of steady state diffusion is found in the purification of hydrogen gas. Okay, the one side of a thin sheet of palladium metal is exposed to exposed to the gas which is impure, of course, which is composed with hydrogen and another other gaseous species. Uh, the hydrogen diffuse through the sheet to the opposite side, which is maintained at a constant and a lower hydrogen pressure. This process has been used to purify the hydrogen gas, as other gases like nitrogen, oxygen and water vapor cannot diffuse through palladium. Okay, so this is the one practical example of steady state diffusion, okay, for purification of hydrogen gas. Okay, so most interesting cases of diffusion are non-steady state processes, since the concentration at a given position changes with time, and and the flux also changes, that is the diffusion flux also changes with time. So diffusion flux in non-steady state depends on time, which means that a type of atoms accumulates in a region or depleted from a region. Okay, this is the Fick's second law. So it states that the concentration of solute atoms at any point in metal changes with time. Okay, and it is also changes with the concentration gradient. It is also equal to the rate of change of concentration gradient. Here you can see in this picture that the concentration of solute atoms is changing with time in different planes. Okay, this is known as Fick's second law. Okay. Okay, so as I said earlier, that concentration gradient in the case of non-steady state diffusion changes with time. That means the diffusion flux changes with time, which means that how much atoms accumulate in a region or depleted from a region. That depletion can be cause them to accumulate in another region. Okay, this can be expressed as Fick's second law. This is the Fick's second law, where dc dt is the time rate of change of concentration at a particular position x, and if this concentration coefficient, that is d, is assumed to be a constant, then you can express this equation like this, which is depicts as a Fick's second law. Okay. Okay, so this is the concentration. This figure depicts the concentration profile for non-steady state diffusion taken at different times, that is T0, T1, T2, T3. Okay, so the solution for the Fick's second law of this expression are possible when some boundary conditions are specified. Okay, these are the boundary conditions. Now the one most practical important solution is for this for a is for a semi-infinite solid. Okay, in which in semi-infinite solid, in which the surface concentration is held constant and the source of diffusing species is a gas phase. Okay, so some in this case, in this semi infinite solid diffusion, some assumptions are made that
before diffusion, any of diffusing solute atoms in the solid are uniformly distributed with concentration of C0. Okay, and the value of X at the surface is 0 and it increases with distance into the solid, and the time is taken to be 0 instant before the diffusion process begins, that is T0. Okay, so I repeat that the concentrations are in the solid are uniformly distributed with C0 concentration. Okay, before diffusion. Before diffusion, any diffusing solute atoms in the solid are uniformly distributed with concentration C0 and the time is taken to be 0 before the diffusion process begins. Okay, and the value of X, that is the position X, increases with distance into the solid. Okay, so these are the assumptions we have made for the for this practical solution, that is the diffusion in semi-infinite solid, where the diffusing species are is a gas phase. Diffusing species is a gas phase. Okay, so these are the boundary conditions which will be uh, needed or which will be needed for this solution to the expression of Fick's second law. Okay, now if we apply these boundary conditions to the equation of Fick's second law, this yields the solution. Okay, this solution. Okay, where the Cx represents the concentration at depth x after time t. Okay, Cx is the concentration after time t, and the term ERF stands for the Gaussian error function. Okay, corresponding error function values for a variable are usually found from standard mathematical tables. Okay, so this equation demonstrates the relationship between concentration, position and time. So thus the equation can be used to explain many practical industrial problems like corrosion resistance, um, like carburization, decarburization of steel, doping of semiconductors, etc. Okay. Okay, now we will talk about the most important application of diffusion, that is carburizing process. Okay. I think you all are familiar with gear. The gear can be made of any material. Steel is one of that. So what kind of steel should we select for gear? In gear the requirement is wear resistance. That means the teeth should be wear resistant on the surface. So wear resistance requires harden of steel. This harden of steel means high resistance, and this high harden of steel comes from higher carbon. So we have to choose more higher carbon steel for the wear resistance. Also, we require the machinability of gear for forming the shape. But machinability goes down with higher carbon. So it contradicts. So our requirement is higher carbon, but it also implies higher cost. So we have to also keep in mind the cost factor, we have to keep mind the cost factor also. Okay, so our requirement is higher carbon that gives the high resistance power and the machinability. So for optimization, we can do one thing, that is we can apply higher concentration of carbon in only the surface area of the gear. So is it possible? Yes, it is possible by diffusion process, by giving the low carbon steel inside the gear, which increases the machinability and also gives the shape of the gear. And after shaping the gear, we can by a process called carburization, by which surface concentration of carbon can be changed or increased in the steel. So by this carburization process, by diffusing the carbon atoms, higher carbon atoms, we can give the higher resistance power to the teeth of the gear. This process is called carburization process. It can be done by two ways, that is pack carburization and gas carburization. If the carbon powder is used in this carburization process, it is called pack carburization, and in gas carburization process, hydrocarbon gases is used. Okay, so how the carbon gets into the pack of powder to the surface, that is called the carburization process, and it is possible because of diffusion. Clear?